Hello and welcome to episode 53 of Let's Talk Tactics. I'm your host, Zach Burrell.
Hey, I'm Minwu.
And I'm Luck.
We do have a pretty extensive list of characters to talk about, a lot of people's favorites. And let's start with Noctis. Let's just start off with the main character. Locke, do you want to take us away there?
Sure, just give me a second as I pull it up. So I just had it.
You knew this was starting! No, I was kidding.
I knew, but I got excited. I went into Prompto because I thought for some reason we were starting in Prompto. Okay, so I'm on Noctis
Can't
now.
start with the main character. Come on now. Well, the like, I guess they're all main characters, right, in the game, but he's the face.
I guess, yeah. So I actually really like Noctis. I saw before before it was released the skills and everything that we had from the JP version of the site, and I was like, okay, he's pretty good, but he doesn't have much slash penetration, so I can see like a major weakness. And then the global version of him gets this like massive buff on his card, which gives him 40% slash versus penetration. I'm like, that is just ridiculous. Like, if this guy was like a light character, he would be very close in power to like Black Rose Helena, because he's just able to do like Black Rose Helena. She's fearsome because you can't really mitigate her damage. She can always do some kind of damage to you no matter what, right? And I feel like Noctis is similar. And Black Rose Helena has a lot of range. Noctis has defenses. That's just in a nutshell. So I mean, let me actually go into it and talk about him. So stat wise, scroll down here. Actually, let's start with the resistance, because I really like his resistance. He has 10% in slash, missile, and magic, which is the three like main types of damage, and then -5% is strike. And I feel like that's a pretty good spread of resistances to start with. Like it's pretty insane, really.
It's a solid
10%
throwaway stat.
Yeah.
Or dump stat, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like give him like -10% to pierce or something. I feel like that's more balanced, but I don't know. That's what they did with him. And then when you look at his status element resistance, he has 50%, positive 50% to immobilize and berserk, and 10% to confuse. It's not the best stat spread, because I mean, typically you want like stop and disable and charm or something. He doesn't have any of those. But it's not bad. I feel like especially with berserk. I mean, King Mont is a threat out there, and especially in live PvP battles, King Mont is pretty, like I see, he's pretty popular. So just having somebody that can kind of stop him in his tracks is I think good, because King Mont wouldn't want to approach Noctis when he has Berserk resist. He doesn't really have anything else that's so threatening. I mean, I guess he has disable, but anyway, Berserk is what you kind of want to go with mainly. I like his agility. He has 63 when you add up the stats from his base plus the board, which I think is pretty good. And then he also has a passive agility boosting skill, and I feel like that's kind of the standard for a fast character. Some kind of 60 plus agility base, or plus the board, it's around 60. And then if you have a plus 12% agility passive, I feel like that's basically the standard for a fast character, and so Noctis beats that. Then continuing with his passives, he has Heir to the Lucian throne, which gives you 12% elemental resist to every single element and 24% attack. That 12% elemental resist is, I think it's nuts. That's just like it's basically a flat 12% reduction of overall damage, right? And like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it just sounds weird. Like, it's just like really powerful, but I don't know. What do you guys have thoughts on just that? Like, is this like a, what is it called? Like a power creep of like defenses? What do you guys think?
It's definitely a direction we've discussed before. Like, we wondered
Mhm.
if there would ever be elemental resist tanks that would kind of be the next era. So, like, a lot of the beginning of the game is very defense and spirit based, I feel like. And
Right.
if you stacked one resist, you could be like immune. But now there's all these different penetrations available and breaks and ways to ignore and whatever. But elemental resist definitely is one that it's not interacted with often. There's obviously exceptions, but you either have to go out of your way to include the skills in your character's build, or uh or you just kind of fall victim to it. And there's obviously the niche ones where I think it's Rain can get either close to or up to like 100% ice resist because of his kit or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen King Mont. You were just talking about King Mont. He has a pretty impactful ability to give elemental resist across the board, and that's I mean, we've seen how powerful that is. But I know, Daniel, this is the thing you're a big fan of. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to that. Like, once we see like an Earth ring, like we've seen like the other elemental
Mm-hmm.
accessories, it'll make it like that much easier to get him to lightning immunity. Obviously, as an Earth unit, he has the Earth UR. He has the initial like 20 lightning resists, and then 12 from Providence of Lightning, as you know, thanks to his Spellblades sub job, and 12 from Heir to the Throne. That's another 24. So that's 44 just by itself without Esper or gear
Or
or
advantage.
buffs or anything. So yeah, well, yeah.
Advantage
But
isn't
I'm
the
just
same.
like,
It's
Yes,
yeah, it's
separate.
attack and yeah,
Yeah.
damage and receiving damage and stuff. But um, yeah, so yeah, it's crazy. And I think if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first all elemental res that we see from a passive.
I think so.
So
passive, I believe so. Yeah.
we have seen in the past that all elemental res and all elemental like imperil or whatever, like that stacks with individual imperils or resistances. So that in itself is, like Locke was saying, I think it's an indication of a little bit more power creep. It's kind of a no-brainer, honestly. Unless you, for some reason, you need to take Shadowrunner and Shikuchi on him for like a weird class match map with a lot of height variation. You're probably going to be taking Heir to the Lucian throne on him.
Yeah, I
He
feel like that's probably going to be something that I would almost always take, except I feel like for class match, I would probably take Sakuchi anyway because I really like move for jump 2 units in manual PvP.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's always going to be standard for me. And then I think unless I for some reason like if I need to agility tune or something and I really need Shadowrunner, I would take it. But most of the time, like 95% of the time, I'd probably be Shikuchi and Heir of the Lucian Throne, just because that that new passive that he has, I just feel like it's just so insane, like 12% across the board. Yeah.
he does kind of have that passive syndrome though, where like all four of them have arguments for their usage. So
yeah,
sometimes it's
just
gonna feel
amazing.
bad, like having to not use one,
Right.
especially when. So I feel like the Providences, which is a spell blade passive, gives magic and light or magic and element you're good against, resist 12. Like that's not always great, but when you have another passive that stacks with it, you can really lean into that advantage. It just makes it look so much more attractive. But I mean, like you're saying, 4-2 movements usually going to be a pretty big choice. And 12 agility is hard to ignore too. But
Um, so I'll move on to his counter, and I'm only going to talk about Blink because that is we've already seen Magic Guard and Poison Barb. Blink has a chance to reduce physical damage taken by 45%. It's really like renamed to something else. He doesn't like move around or anything, so I don't know why it's named Blink. It's pretty much like that. I don't know, like the Paladin counter. I think.
I think it's Paladin's Guard.
Yeah, Paladin's Guard sounds like that. Um, and then so onto his main abilities. Power of Kings is it's actually Power of Kings. The upgraded version is called Power of the True King. It's actually like the signature move of Noctis, I think, uh, which is like something unique we've never seen before. Basically, what it does is that every time he uses a skill for the next 3 turns, he casts a second skill called Armiger. Is that what am I saying it right? Armiger. Okay. Cast Armiger, which is a magic-based skill. It's probably not going to do too much damage unless you actually pump into his magic stat, but it would do. It's a secondary hit, and so if you trigger, for example, Immortal Spirit, the secondary hit will take off Immortal Spirit and will kill him. Uh, if it's re-raised, it'll wait for the unit to be re-raised and then attack. But because it's not as powerful as normal skills, it might not actually kill him. It depends on how much health the enemy has and everything. But it's pretty cool. Like just having a secondary attack like that just overall increases his attack by that much more. And on top of that, like when he's using it, he also gets a bunch of buffs to himself. He gets 20 defense, 40% attack, 40% magic. Magic is usually a throwaway stat for physical DPS, but because it increases the attack of Armiger, it's actually not bad. For 3 turns, it's 30 TP cost skill. This is like for manual PvP, like this is a very good skill to have. The reason I say for manual PvP is because he has a bunch of these really good TP skills, and for auto, you probably have to turn off everything except one. So it's really dumb, right? Like I don't know, but yeah, for manual PvP, I'm like this guy is. I think he's like very good. So I'm really surprised that they gave him 40% slash resist penetration on top of everything that he has. But I feel like maybe in JP, like the manual PvP scene isn't that great, and I think because it's not that great, and he has too many things going for him, he kind of suffers from like Aerith syndrome, where she has too many things that people don't use her in auto. And I feel like maybe he didn't sell well because of that, and so they're like, well, let's give him a massive boost, and hopefully Global will want to play him more or something like that.
Also,
So
I feel
I feel
like
like he
Global
did.
has this like Noctis obsession too. Like he's just a very big fan favorite. It was the sort of like Dark Soulsy Final Fantasy on a next gen console. So like I feel like he's got a big spotlight on him too, which helps, you know, sell it. So if they could just push people over the edge, which I'd argue they didn't have to, but
Yeah.
I think he would have sold himself. But to just
Mhm.
kind of sink that in to anyone who was on the edge.
Yeah. So but I mean, let me continue on. He has a bunch of other things as well. His next skill, Skyhammer, is actually as a guaranteed hit skill. So I mean that takes care of that. It's similar to like Black Rosanna, as I said. Like no matter what you throw at her, she has a way to bypass it. You throw a Evade at her, she has a guaranteed hit. Same with him. He has like three different skills that can actually move to the unit. So this is what I really like about him as like from a style perspective. I'm like, this is actually going to be fun to play around, like warp around the battlefield. He has three skills. Actually, is it three or two? So he has the last skill, which is plunge. It moves your unit panel when you're attacking. He has warp strike, which also moves to the panel when you're attacking, right? And then he has another skill which targets a buff, point warp, which yeah. So the two skills, warp strike and plunge, you warp towards the enemy as you attack them, and then the third skill, point warp, you move to the allies and buff them with 20 spirit and give yourself 25% protection. What the heck, right? Like it just has a bunch of stuff. So I feel like this is why he's so good, because not only is he able to um, deal damage no matter what your enemy has, he also has so many defenses. Like he has Heir of the Kings, 12% elemental resist. He has like 10% resist to slash, missile, and magic. And then now he has protect and 20% spirit. He has defense. Like he just has like everything, right? Well, not everything, but he has like so many different layers of defenses, which I feel like he's makes him very good. And then he also has like all these offensive characteristics. So I feel like he would be a great unit to play like Double Quicken, for example, because he's able to get through things. He's a good like carry. Maybe his damage is a bit on the lower side because none of the skills except for his LB have a 200% modifier. It all maxes at 165. So maybe that might be the one thing kind of holding him back a little bit. But yeah, other than that, like I feel like he's a very good unit. For his sub skills under Prince of Lucius, one skill has it does 3 hits, and the second skill so it gives him a barrier that reduces damage by 1500 HP and also decreases the agility of opponents. Also, I forgot to mention on the job level 25 skill, 120 skill, he also is able to break a barrier as he is moving to targets. So, yeah, he has barrier break. He has guaranteed hit. He has under his mastery, he has 25% defense penetration. Under his card, he has 40% slash resist penetration. I feel like he's like the jack of all trades who can do everything. But maybe he just doesn't do as top tier damage. Maybe that's the only thing holding him back.
It's basically 60 with his weapon too, right? Like his weapon gives the 20 slash resist pen just like from that as well. I'm assuming you would be using on him. I don't know.
Or you can use
better.
the defense weapon as well, Spine Blade, to up his defense penetration from
Oh
25
right,
to 45. Yeah,
yeah, that's fair.
so I think that because that gives him like an overall better build probably. But yeah,
That's quite
uh,
annoying.
he seems like he would be very good. Yeah.
I think my only contribution on top of that would be that I didn't realize his Skyhammer ability, the sure hit, is actually a pierce attack. So not only is it guaranteed hit, and it's also a resist type that's not commonly stacked or built. So if they're expecting to, they give themselves like a slash buff or something and walk up, like you can just pierce them with a 165 mod, and the like CT down is just icing on the cake. But like having and it's an AoE sure hit, which is just silly to have on a sword class character. And then his sub job is a strike damage, the warp bash. So he has he has 3 different damage types if you use his sub job. And looking at his other jobs, honestly, I would probably be using that because of warp bash, whether it be for the chaining or whether it be for the just having the strike damage type, because again, like you said, it's a nice dump stat which a lot of units will fall into or people won't even think of, and then you just literally punch somebody off the map. And then decreasing agility is nice sometimes as well. And that kind of plays into his LB, which we miss as well, which is it's typeless, because why not have that too? And decreases the resistance to all 3 of the types that he's capable of producing. So it's pretty insane. Granted, again, as we always say, this is a relatively high AP cost on a character who doesn't start with a ton of AP, so you have to either have bells or crystals or something. But I mean, honestly, it's fine. Also, can we talk about the Conjure Armiger range indicator on War of the Visions calc? It's range 9 in all directions, which I assume has to account for like the movement panel thing and the fact like that's his max potential range, if any. I don't know why it is this, but I find it kind of funny. Also, to note, you did say it's magic, but it's also typeless and elementless, which is interesting. Yeah,
I've heard that it doesn't
very
interrupt chains.
That's silly.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense, but silly. And also, yeah, fuck his reaction being called blink without actually blinking. But anyway, all right.
I actually feel like sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just finish.
I was just gonna say, because you said you'd probably go with Princess Lucia's spell sub. I was thinking that I would probably go with Spellblade, because like that 38% magic resist to allies I think is really, really good, and also that shield I'm assuming you're playing manually. That magic barrier shield I think as well is invaluable to him. So yeah, I don't know, but it's just he's so bulky.
Yeah, it's I had a few thoughts that I wanted to share with you guys, and I'm glad that Prodijee brought up the triple threat attack type, because that was definitely going to feature prominently. And I think that's my response to, like, he doesn't have any 200 mod skills besides his LB. I think it's because he has that versatility in attacking, especially on his main sub job, having strike and then the piercing and then the normal slash. I'm wondering if, because of that versatility, they were like, yeah, we need to dial them back a little bit. I don't know if they have a testing phase at all. I have to assume they do, but yeah, who knows? Another thought that I had was the Conjure Armiger ability from Power of Kings, Power of True King, whatever. I'm curious if that's like a guaranteed hit, or if it's like if it depends on the hit chance of the ability that you're using to like in conjunction with that. So like if you're struggling to hit like a UR Zazan, for instance, and like you're trying to get rid of the Immortal Spirit and like banking on Conjure Armiger for that, like you might have to hit him first. And so like it's lucky that he has a guaranteed hit and that Skyhammer ability and that it's AoE, but you might have to rely on that if it's true that Conjure Armiger isn't a guaranteed hit. You guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it'd also be nice for double rolls too. So if you don't have the guaranteed hit for some reason, there's like a range issue or something weird, you can't use it. They have AoE resist or something. Because having the double roll seems good, and that seems like it would roll twice because it goes after things like Immortal Spirit, whereas other abilities would not.
Yeah, exactly. Like the wording says, launch the following skill on the target, and down at the bottom, it doesn't say that Conjure Armiger is a guaranteed hit. But we can't always rely on What If Dashcock to be super accurate, because it's just like from the data mining as far as I'm aware.
Right.
It's not like Gumi sponsors it and it's like super accurate or whatever. But anyways, so that was something that I thought about. Like you might have to worry about the accuracy involved. Next, his ninja sub job doesn't come with Utsusemi, and this is like at least the second recent UR ninja sub job that doesn't have Utsusemi. I believe Halloween Frederica is the same way, and I feel like there's another ninja recently that didn't come with Utsusemi, and it's like he had the chance to be like evasive. With a little bit better because of Shadowrunner from Ninja, but like not having that is like kind of a bummer. Like he doesn't have an evasion steroid that he can use.
Maybe that's
So
also
that's kind
going
of a
along with the
bummer.
balance thing, though, so he can't literally
Yeah,
do
yeah.
everything, like be a tank, be a
I was,
murderer.
I was about to draw that comparison too, because not only does he have skills that buff, like that give him protect, or that give him like a magic barrier or a physical barrier, like being able to be evasive as well. Yeah, just like the versatility there would be crazy. Um, Obviously, you can't stack all of those, but like just having the choice between them, depending on the rest of your team. And I think that's why units like UR Zazan are so potent, is because they have these they have the versatility to function on different teams, or they're just OP. There was one other thing I feel like, but I just kind of started rambling. Oh, I think it's really interesting that he can increase his own agility and break his target's agility, at least with Warp Bash on his main sub job. I think that's kind of an underrated dynamic that like people don't really pay attention to, like agility buffs and breaks in terms of how it affects their turn order. So like he doesn't have like straight up CT buffs, but I am looking forward to seeing how manipulating the agility on the board. I know you don't really say board, but like on the map or whatever, how he can turn that to his advantage against maybe a matchup that he may not otherwise be successful against. Like I don't know. First thing that comes to mind is like a wind evade team or something. Like being able to stack more attacks because of having that advantage on agility.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and actually, I guess.
Uh,
Oh, sorry. I'll let you finish before I add anything else.
I think I'm good.
So one thing I was thinking earlier, completely forgot. We were talking about how he has the slash res pen added, and he has almost every tool available. But we said he didn't really have defense pen, so he used the other sword that does have the defense pen on it. He doesn't have defense pen, but he literally just has a break of 30, which is a very high number for a break on a relatively spammable ability. It's only 20 AP. It's not like an LB or something. So the fact that he just goes break 30 defense is just pretty nuts. And also just has like the reduced counter chance and a high mod attached to it and a teleport. So, but just, yeah, he definitely has most tools available to him. It's kind of silly.
Yeah. I remember the last thing I wanted to say. So I think they really did justice to like the main character like dynamic of like different Final Fantasy titles with 15 and with Noctis. Like his mobility is just fucking insane. Like not only can he get like 4-2 like with move and jump, but you can give him move and jump from like I don't know Katone's TMR whatever like we usually try to do. Not only does he have that, but he can like he has all these warps and shit. It's like he can get around the map really quickly. Like you can even just put poison mist on him from Ninja Sub Job, and so it's not just that he's versatile and like his build, but like getting around the map. Like first thing that comes to mind in terms of units that struggle that could be so much more powerful if they didn't struggle with getting around the map and high variations and stuff is Tifa. Like when we first started using Tifa, we were like, oh man, this is going to be great. She can warp to her target. She has all these great abilities. But in practice, we soon figured out that like, man, like she doesn't do that well on maps with a lot of height variation because of whatever the ranges on her skills. So I'm not really like Noctis is like the other end of the spectrum. It really seems like high variation and like getting around the map and positioning and mobility and stuff is really like his comfort zone, and I think that's terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, very. um unless we have more thoughts on him, just move on to his blade real quick. We did mention already that the +5 does provide a 20% slash resist pen. And initially I was going to say, obviously, assault, right? Is there any argument to, although the crit rate is awful on it, to also have a crit one built, maybe not necessarily for Noctis, but for units that want the slash resist pen, but also will use some amount of magic in their build, as opposed to having, like, Lohengrin is slash attack. So I could see situations, because like my Ice Brand, for example, is critical purely for the magic split. We've talked about this before. Should there also be a crit version? I assume assault for Noctis, I think, is pretty obvious, unless you're trying to be cheeky with the conjure or whatever thing that was that he pings off as a second hit. But yeah, thoughts on that? I assume aim is just garbage. 15 accuracy, we've talked about that number being less than 20 and not really worth it in most cases. So
it's, you know, that's an interesting question. Like for me, my first impression is like, if we ever get like an Earth Spellblade, I mean besides Veneer Winter, like if we get an Earth
sword
UR unit
user
that can make use of the sword with the magic bonus, like if we get like a hybrid unit, like yes, definitely that would be that'd be worth it. I think even over like well, I don't know, I hesitate to say Lohengrin because there's a difference between the slash attack up and the slash pen, you know.
right.
But I think at the moment I don't think it's that useful, but like it's gonna be nice. Like if you farm the extra recipes, I feel like it would be nice to have that option later on.
How about you, Locke?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. Like I'm just gonna farm 126 recipes and keep them in stock for when I need to craft these. Because I mean, like, I'll probably be doing these stages more than enough times to get the 126 recipes anyway, so might as well just keep it, you know. But
But
right now, I
the
don't
10,
see a use for the magic one right now. But I mean, sorry, the crit one right now. But in the future, yeah.
the 10 crit rate is like
Yeah,
it should
10
be at
crit's
least like
garbage,
15
yeah.
or 16 or something.
Yeah, it's just really bad. I hate that so much. Like, just take like 20 attack and magic off that,
Yeah.
cut it in half and add it to the crit rate. Make the crit rate like 25, 30. Like, come on.
Yeah, you usually see at least 20 for crit like weapons from
For one's worth building,
what
yeah.
I can recall. Yeah.
It's nuts. Whatever. I mean, maybe like you said, there's some balancing in the background that we don't see. Whatever. Probably not. All right, bring us into the VC. Yeah. Sorry. Lock.
All right.
Yes. So as we see, damn, I keep jumping ahead. I'm back on Prompto now. Okay,
All right,
1 second
fine.
as I was-
Danny, you want the VC instead? He's
Yeah,
so excited to talk about
I can
Prompto.
cover it. All right, get ready for Prompto. He's next. So Ulta Salvation, awesome name. It's really cool. Like the description for it. I don't know if you guys check that out, but having not played Final Fantasy 15 myself, it's cool hearing about it and blah blah blah. You know, the exposition and stuff. But in terms of stats, it's kind of average. You know, average attack, average magic. It's interesting that it's average of both instead of focusing on one or the other. I think that helps out Noctis, but maybe not so much any other Earth unit, unless it's like sometimes I use Scion of House Belv on magic units or attack units. You know, it's kind of nice having that sometimes. HP 224, it's nice having like HP in like the 400s or whatever to be like really notable. Jumping straight to the bestowed effects, it's like Earth Attack up 10 for Earth units, as well as HP 5, 5% that is. And for like we were talking about Noctis, the global upgrade gives Noctis 40% slash res pen. So yeah, that's just absolutely crazy. It's kind of a no-brainer. You know, like we have these vision cards that are no-brainers for, you know, whatever their intended units are. But a big thing about the party effect of this vision card is that Earth finally gets a 50% attack up buff. So party effect is 50% attack, 18% dex. That's pretty much expected for like the hybrid stats on these like mono element cards. Usually dex would be like 35% if it's like the main stat. So 18 is basically half of that. And then at level 99, Magic Res 20 is also like something Earth teams have been really needing. So this is super clutch as long as you can fit it into your Earth team. Like if you can afford to have like, so like Earth Evasion needs like Titan for the Earth Evasion, Secrets of the Heart for luck, and then like we've just been using like You Are Zazan's card, right? But you could just as easily take this to mitigate, taking guaranteed magic damage, or like having the attack up and plus a little bit more accuracy, so yeah, I think this is a super clutch card and something that like all around like Earth has been kind of needing without really knowing about it. So for anyone who has really considered like what Earth has been missing as far as like vision cards. So yeah, really good card.
It's interesting that
Worth
it checks 2 boxes, right? Like the
Yeah.
20%, the magic, like having that in the same card is nuts. Like we'll see sometimes
Yeah, exactly.
where you get like the 50% attack and it's just like, oh, crit evasion 20 or something weird, like just tacked on at the end. But this one
Oh, God,
is
so terrible.
too relevant, really good party effects. Dex is pretty universally useful because most classes use it as like a substat for damage, and then it also just gives accuracy, like you said. Like this card is actually insane. I think the 224 HP, I agree, very like mediocre. Maybe it's because it has 5% bestowed, so it's kind of like balancing out a little bit. Because with these level 120s, I mean, base stats are higher, so 5% HP may be significant. But and yeah, I do like the attack and magic split though, because I find myself sometimes with like mono teams, I'm like, oh, I'm like wasting the stat because I don't have like a magic character or
Yeah.
something. But I could like stick it on Ryu in a mission or swap it over like Zazan for something. Not necessarily this card, but what's that other Earth card with Camillo on it? I forget the name of it.
Dreams of Heroism.
Yeah, that one. Doesn't that one split both, right? That's another one that
Gotta
split.
get that TP.
Yeah, right. Actually, wait, am I forgetting? I almost think
It's
I'm actually. Yeah,
something I
magic
use
card.
on the well.
Yeah.
God, what do I? There's an Earth VC that I use on the well that's like that has the hybrid split. Can't think what it is. It might be that one.
I'll say that one does have the hybrid split and it has the AoE resist on it and the HP. So maybe that's it. I don't know. But anyway, it gives you that kind of vibe. But like you said with Scion, it's nice to have the split. So granted, I mean, we like seeing giant attack numbers, giant magic, but I'm also a fan of versatility. So I lean this way a little more most of the time, especially when it comes to a VC stat. But yeah, all right, Locke, it's your time. Let's move on to Prompto. Oh wait, actually, I'm sorry. One thing, we keep forgetting TMRs of units. So real quick, Noxus Tmr I think is awesome. I'll just run through it. 40 HP, 8 defense, 8 spirit. That's a cloth armor Tmr. It's got to be good to warrant that slot. I think this one is. So the TMR skill is basically like Ultima's Apron, where it gives a 5% auto restore, so it's like a weakened bells, but it also gives protect for 3 turns to self. It's always 25%. Just really insane. Yeah, it's one of those. It's 2 beneficial effects that I like to see on a unit. TP cost is 24. It's all right. I could definitely see myself using this maybe with something like the little robot thing in my accessory slot, or an Alexandrite ring, depending on the team I'm planning to go against. It's not all the time.
2 casts.
Oh, it is 2 casts. Okay, I did not realize that. That's even more bonkers. Oh, and while I'm here, Noctis apparently has 25 defense pen as his master ability. So, well, there he is all stacked up. So, dope. All right,
yeah, we already mentioned that.
Oh,
no. So I just want to mention real fast. Like, I'm still trying to figure out the trends and like who gets to use Uldo and Apron. It's not hard to figure out who can use Noctis's TMR. Like, it's just cloth users.
Yep.
So cloth users have an option for getting that auto restore AP. It's the same. Like, it's 5%, just like Uldo and Apron. So like you're getting like, I don't know, 7, maybe 8, or it depends on your max AP. But it's interesting as well because if you can use both Uldo and Apron and this, you decide like whether you want to have that defense pen of like max 50 or if you want to go for the protect instead. But it's I would probably end up using this more, just because it's for all cloth users. It looks like. All right.
Yeah, definitely a very good TMR. So for Prompto, let me just start with this TMR. His TMR looks like a camera. I mean, so I never played Final Fantasy 15, so I don't know if there's any significance, but it just looks strange to me without any backstory.
I mean, it says it's a camera.
It looks like a camera. It takes pictures like a camera. It must be a camera. No,
must be a camera.
So the TMR skill is called inconspicuous because I guess he pretends to be a photographer. I don't know.
Paparazzi.
Pretends. That's actually a baguette. No.
It decreases chance of being targeted by 6. I mean, it's not good for manual PvP, but for other auto PvP, it's good to run this. It's similar to like Kitone's TMR that people used to run. And it also restores CT by 250, which is like 25 CT on the gauge, and I think that's pretty good. I think it's niche. It's not great, but I think it's good for people that set up some kind of combo. Like you can combo this with Keen Blade or Ildira's LB or something, and get a second turn or something. I can see this being used like that. It is only one cast, but I like it's niche. Like it's not something that most people would use, and it's not something that you would put on most of the time. It's just for very niche situations. That's what I think, where you can set up some kind of combo is when I see this being used.
It's a live PvP toy that someone will find great use for, but yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Also,
same.
we have to be careful, you guys, with assuming that people are going to max out TMRs with like equip pots and stuff.
True.
Like we can assume that it's going to be maxed out for like skills or whatever because that just costs skill. But like for me, I always bring a TMR to like 15 if I have the spare pots, which I usually do. But it's rare that I will max a TMR that isn't like something that I know I'm going to be using all the time. So I think we have to be careful with being like, yeah, it's like assuming that people are going to max it.
That's fair. Yeah, definitely fall into that trap sometimes.
Yeah, I always go to either 1 or 20. There's no in between. but I have several of them that are level 1. So, all right. So we'll start with the stat spread again. For his resistances, he has a much more even spread. I think, like a more balanced spread, I should say. He has 5% resistance to slash, 5% to strike, -5 to magic, and then he has +15 resistance to missile. It's kind of interesting. I mean, he's a missile user and he has high resistance to missile. But I feel like it's more balanced. Also, like magic is a pretty common type, so he actually has like a proper weakness. So I feel like this is an actual balanced stat spread. For his elemental resistance, sorry, not elemental, for his status resistance, he has 50% resistance to Doom, 50% to Blind, and 10% to Charm. I feel like the Doom and the Blind isn't really that great. So I think there's a lot to be desired here. 10% Charm is good, but again, I wouldn't rely on that too much because usually you are up against Steelheart, which has a 50% chance of happening. So that's still a pretty high chance. And I think if you're going to be running Prompto, you probably want to be running about 97 Faith. So he's going to be prone to status effects. That's what I think. You can still run him at 50 Faith as well, but I mean, we'll get into that, and I will say why I think you should run him at 97 Faith. His agility, when you add up all the board and main stats, his agility is 67, which is I feel a little bit on the higher end. But he doesn't. Oh, he does. He also has an agility passive as well to increase it by 12%. So I feel like that's again like the standard for a fast character. So I feel like he fits that role. He can be run like a Frederica, where Frederica is like really ridiculously fast. He can be run the same build. So if I look at his passives, he has long range and customized scoped, which gives him +1 range for a long range and +2 range for customized scope. And this is similar to like a Frederica setup where you have 2 range on concentrate and 1 range on a second skill. And so he basically has the range of Frederica. He has an active skill which can increase his range by 1, similar to Frederica's aimed fire. So he can basically go toe to toe with Frederica in terms of range. And then he has some additional stuff. So customized scope, it gives him a 50% acquired AP buff, whereas Frederica gets like -10 evasion or something. I think it's minus something evasion, right? Yeah, but he gets instead a 50% accurate AP buff, so that's insane, and I think that helps him actually to not need bells as much as Frederica does. And then he also, I mean, there's so customized arsenal is the other skill that is unique to him, which gives him 12% agility and 15 missile attack. But most of the time, I feel like people would probably want to go range for him anyway. not just because he's a ranger and he has low defenses, but also as I mentioned, he doesn't have good status resistances. So you want to keep as much range from your enemies as much as possible to not get disabled or something, right? So you most likely, I think most people will probably be going for the range passives. For the counter, he has reflex. They just renamed it as something else, but it's basically a reflex. So
Ah!
stop it.
Ah! All right, sorry.
You can't complain. Damn it! I got reflex. Now you have to say, now I got Crown's Guard evasive skilled.
We're all just gonna say fucking reflexed. God damn it.
Oh man.
So anyway, I'll move into the main job skills now. So what I really like about him in a nutshell is that, and on top of his damage that he does, he usually has some kind of like status effect in the skills that he does. Like for his first skill, Paralyzing Bullet, it has a 25% chance to paralyze. And then later on, he has a skill called Blinding Bullet, which has a 25% chance to blind. And because he is a sub sniper, if you sub him as sniper, you actually have arm shot as well, which is 25% chance to inflict disable. And I actually feel like the sniper skills might possibly be skills that are used more often than his main job skills, because he's a gunner type, and usually gunners, they need like line of sight and other craziness. But I feel like his height range is also 1 on most of his gunner skills, except for his job level 25 skill, which gives him range height 2. But his sniper skills, they don't need any range of heights, so he doesn't need that. Sorry, he doesn't need line of sight. I mean, line of sight, and the range height is like very high at 5. Yeah, range height of 5. So I feel like arm shot, slow shot, dispel spread, those are skills that he'll probably use more often, I think. And they're all very powerful skill. Like sniper is, I think, my favorite long range job. Because it's, to me, it seems like the most powerful. I think he pairs very well with Frederica, because he can use Crown's Guard sniper skills, which increases attack by 40% for himself and allies, and Frederica can do aimed fire, which increases missile attack by 38. So both of them can buff each other, and they will benefit from that. He also has other buffs, like it increases accuracy by 30 and agility by 25, which is swift and steady. And then he has some defense penetration in his kit as well, but he has to use the skill first. He has to use Piercer first to give himself 40% defense plan. And then his limit burst has a 67% chance to inflict poison, and this is the range for range height 2 skill. I feel like he's very good, and also because his other sub is assassin, you can also combine the acquired AP from both jobs to give himself 100% AP. So every single TP cost will give him twice as much AP than normal. So I feel like it might be actually very good on raids, and you don't need to run belts on him. He could do like him and Dwayne or something, and give belts to Dwayne. So that could work. And his TP skills also do cost quite a lot of TP. Like his Crown's Guard sniper skills gives him 34 TP. That would translate to like 34 AP. If you're using this. So I feel like he's pretty good. He has uses. I feel like Noctis is still better. He has like actually interesting mechanics as well. This guy, he's good, but I feel like we kind of already have like a disabling unit from afar. We kind of have seen that before, so I feel like he's not as special as like what Noctis is bringing. That's how I personally feel. But he's still like a very good unit, and also in the element that he's coming from, like a dark, like the dark team doesn't have, like a missile unit, a missile user that. What?
I said Garvel.
Oh, yeah, right. We have Ryder. And Garvel, I don't know if Garvel counts, but yeah, we do have Ryder.
I'm just fucking with it.
Well, so we reviewed 120 Rivalry recently, and so he comes to mind and would probably pair well with Prompto. But obviously he's an MR, and MRs get like the least love out of the MR, SR, RN kind of mix.
Jobs,
yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. Alec, did you have anything else you want to say?
No, go for it.
Okay. So yeah, to me, Prompto is like a mix between Frederica and Venera. He's more evasive than Frederica, and he's a better gunner than Venera is with the dual
Panera,
gunner. Venera.
like
Venera as like dual gunner sub job. Like
okay,
he's
I
a better
was
gunner than
okay.
her. Um, the one thing that kind of almost makes him a little bit worse than Frederica, in my opinion, is that he doesn't have a guaranteed hit. Like you always see Frederica on Ranger sub job. She has that sharpshoot, so she doesn't really have to worry too much about like water evasion, like ninjas or whatever. He has, Prompto has like the accuracy buff. And you're probably going to see him with like high dex. I can't remember exactly what his base dex is, but I'm not sure how much he's going to struggle with evasion. I don't really expect it too much, especially with the evasion accuracy buff. Kind of similar to like Black Rose Helena and Ruin Stern. But I don't know if you guys noticed, but he kind of gets, aside from the whole sharpshoot, like guaranteed hit, he gets kind of an upgraded barrage. It's like one less range, but the fact that it's a Black Rose Helena card, like the VC ability, Shadow Flare, his Gravisphere works the same way. So I think that can be a really interesting use, especially since it's 3 casts at 26 AP.
A lot less
I'm
damage,
sure,
but I think
yeah,
having lower
it's
AP cost is worth it.
minimal or whatever. Yeah, and uh, so it's cool having that barrage like bursts like range. And it's also cool like the Star Shell, like having a defense and spirit break and attack and magic break, having it be an AoE and it's the TP skill. I really like Star Shell and his main sub job, and the fact that he can decrease AP with Cursing Bullet is, it's nothing to like about. So I think it's hard for me to decide between Sniper and his main sub job, honestly, because Sniper has just a bunch of good stuff. He's missing Slow Arrow, which is kind of like, Slow Arrow is one of my favorite skills from Sniper. Be really nice if he had that, but as long as he has Arm Shot and Dispel Spread, like those are like the really the cream of that job. So and it's just weird. Like his Limit Burst has the same kind of effect that Venera's does, except for it's not slash, it's missile. So like that's like him being dark, his evasion stuff, the fact that he has assassin sub job as well. That's really, it's like a mix of Venera and Frederica into this free unit, and I think that's really potent actually. Like I would not underestimate Prompto, um, both in terms of like trying to hit him and also trying to get in range without like being punished for it.
So I have a couple thoughts. You touched on a couple actually. I was going to talk about Star Shell a lot, but kind of going down the line here. So customized arsenal is a passive that we've kind of like not joked about, but said we wish we could have off of units in the past, where it's like, oh, taking the missile mastery is kind of meh. It's only 50. You tack on 12% agility to that. I mean, I agree that you're always using customized scope. Plus, I can't imagine a situation in which I don't. However, I could see myself using customized arsenal over long range, because yes, Daniel.
Okay. So something I didn't really want to touch on too much, but like he has an evasion build and like a ranged build, and if you want to go full evasion, you go evasion up and sniper mastery for the luck.
Oh,
I
of
would
course, but I'm not.
rather have the luck than the edgy.
I
And
guess you
also
think he can do that, yeah? Can he?
he only has one less base agility than Frederica, so he can also be like blazingly fast like her. All right. Anyways.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So he has two different ways. If you if you're using his sniper sub to give himself one extra range, whether you're using target or you're using the Crown's Guard sniper skills, so he can still. Granted, Frederica has the +1 range from aimfire, so she can still outrange him by 1 if you are in that mirror match. But I don't know, the 12% agility is really attractive. In addition to having like a really increasing all of his modifiers by 15. Because I guess he already has kind of a high damage on his. He does have a 200 skill naturally, so maybe the missile mastery isn't as relevant. But I don't know. That's super attractive to me. I could see myself giving up one range.
No, he has the same range as her.
Well, if you have all three passes, right? I'm talking about using a different. I'm talking about dropping the long range to give customized arsenal, and then making up for it by just always keeping up a buff on board, which is kind of incentivized by the whole AP thing too. You just want to. It's probably gonna be like TP, AP, AP, TP, AP, AP. But on top of that, you have one less range on the barrage, but in terms of opponent threat ranges, it's actually kind of the same because it can pull them back a space. So you can kind of keep the same sort of distance between you and lower range units with the Gravisphere, which I find interesting. I don't know if how significant that is. But it's interesting thing to note, I thought. And then there was one more thing here. He does have the CT down we talked about. Shit. Thought there was one more thing.
Poison is the same damage as Venera, which is better than a normal
Oh, yeah,
poison.
it's a 25 one. Yeah, it's insane. That's a good point too. I forgot there's 2 poisons where, a lot of them are that 15x and other ones are 25x, which is percent of max health. It's really silly. If anyone's been poisoned by Venera, I wonder why that did so much more than like Poison Arrow or something. That is why.
Maybe his job 25 skill, like a chance to inflict slow, like we don't really see that too often for like raid bosses or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. It was a stupid joke. I was gonna say he reminds me of like some like anime character. He's like Crown's Guard, sniper skills, Crown's Guard, evasive skills, like calling out his moves like each time he's so that's what it was. I knew. But and he's also what's that?
Heart of the cards.
Yeah, right. And he's also 4th on the index for Dex. He actually has more than Liart, which is interesting.
Wow.
Apparently OG Ryryu is number 3 though. That's kind of nuts. Goes Frederica, Corwell, Ryryu, Prompto. Although the distance between 1st place and 4th place is kind of big. It's 21 full Dex between him and Fred. But anyway, yeah, moving on to his weapon.
Okay, am I doing his weapon too?
Yeah, I figure. Sorry.
Sure.
Tag back in.
Okay, so the Valiant. So I mean, people have been asking me which is the best weapon for him, and I mean, I don't think that's a real good, like, I don't think that's a good question because it really depends on who you're fighting, right? Like if you're fighting somebody who has a lot of defense, then you want Valiant. If you're fighting
Which weapon has the highest percent chance of being the correct choice in most situations, Locke?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the
But
question people are asking, right? Like they're like, well, what's the best? Like if I just stick it on there, how often is it
Quasar.
going to be the right choice? Quasar.
Yeah, I go with that. I don't know. I mean, I really like high attack, so I'm usually going with the Ras Algeti. But I don't know. I mean, if people start, I don't know, man. I'll probably keep switching between both of these. And use the defense penetration one and the Ras Algeti. Between the two. So I don't know.
No, man.
It's definitely best
Tmr
radio
with materia.
Mustadio's TMR. Pop gun.
Boom.
Sorry. But yeah, so this Valiant, it has 3 different types. It has assault, aim, and critical. Assault has 152 attack, and I mean, I kind of always go with assault. I mean, aim gives you 16 accuracy, and critical gives you aim gives you 14 accuracy, critical gives you 16 accuracy, and I don't feel like either of those stats are worth it to sacrifice pure attack. So that's what you would go for. I feel like, if they at least give you, if they didn't take away the -3 agility from this gun, like we need to have one gun that doesn't do that, I think, and then can have more choices over less damage or more agility or something. But every single gun has -3 agility. I don't know why, but that's what we're stuck with.
Have you seen their agility values?
So
balance, man, balance.
Yeah, well, once we get Luarthur's Tmr as a weapon, and the upgraded version, and that doesn't have an agility.
Yeah. So
that.
My first impulse was to compare this to Spineblade, but it's it's the gun version of Spineblade. But let us never forget that Spineblade has a magic type with terrible attack and magic values. As bad as the crit and aim version of Valiant is, it's never going to be as bad as Spineblade magic type. Let it be known.
Yeah, there's a couple of those that you guys didn't have to complete the triangle just for the sake of it. Like, get rid of vital weapons unless it's gonna actually be something. Like, we need like a class that uses a hammer, like instead of an axe, like just a giant fucking hammer that gives you like 500 HP or something, and just like have that actually be significant on vital.
Or just have attacks that are based on your HP or something, besides Drain Force.
Okay, I was like, All right.
Have
Any other
more
thoughts
attacks
on the whole Prompto thing with either his weapon or the character himself?
I'm glad we got him for free. Honestly, I think
True.
that was a really cool move.
Yeah, I would have never pulled for him because I mean I was only going to go for one, and I really wanted to go for Noctis. So
Yeah.
glad I got it for free.
All right, moving on to the newest ice unit. So we'll come back to Minwu at the end. We're just going to keep going with the Final Fantasy 15 stuff. So Aranea, she is a pretty sweet unit. Starting with her Tmr as usual. It's Dragon Mail, 468 HP, 10 defense, 6 spirit. The 6 spirit, I'd rather just have like 4, like give me like 12 defense or something instead. Like don't give me this trashed 6 that's gonna get either overwritten or not really impact. But Tmr skill, 1 cast, 28 TP. Called Haste Arts, gives you 25% agility for 3 turns on self. But what I think is more interesting is gives you the decreased activation time and attack skill activation time. So same thing for 4 turns for self. So that's nice. My first thought when I saw this was, first of all, you have to think about what units can wear armor that also have cast times. Most often it's Dragoons. But I thought about Fryevia for this one because obviously it's armor, so she can actually wear it. And giving activation time down, especially for 4 turns on a unit that can have Emerald Echo, it'd be for 5 turns. You like she has a lot of various support abilities with White Mage. Or what are you thinking, Daniel?
I'm just laughing because I didn't consider that.
Yeah, no, it'd be for 5 turns.
Emerald
It's
Echo
actually pretty cool.
bullshit.
Yeah, but and the agility be for 4 turns. Like Fryevia can always use some more agility to keep up with the rest of the crowd. She's not like super slow because her EX did help a little bit with her agility, giving her flat values, but can always get that extra boost to keep up with the best of them. But anyway, the having White Mage spells, Gilgamesh, to cast White Mage stuff faster is pretty significant for her, I think, especially if you need to get like a clutch full life off before your corpse goes away, or you need to get it just basically before their turn comes up in the turn order. It can be pretty impactful in games. Granted, there's other things she could do. You can use Keenblade or whatever, but I'm pretty excited to mess around with this on Fryevia. I have to make sure that 200 is going to hit breakpoints because sometimes just something like 200 isn't going to be significant. But I do believe with some of the cast times of White Mage skills, it will potentially save me a clock tick. So something I'm excited to look into. But master ability back to Aranea. Normal ice stuff, but she gets 10% agility and 5 crit damage. 5 crit damage is a little weird, like cool, a little extra, but 5 is such a small value. It's meh. Stats wise, she's relatively bulky, around like 3.9 kHP. It's not like the highest out there, however, it is not on the like squishy end either. She has a 50. I'm gonna start with statuses because I like this one. 50% to charm. Always excited about that. Like it's one thing to get disabled or stopped or whatever, but just charm is just it's so brutal. The multiplier is usually higher on the units that have it. So I do not want to get RNA'd against myself. They kind of ironically she has frostbite resist, which is in the future. I'm sure that's going to be a lot more impactful than it is now, but it's a status that is pretty limited in who has it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any non-ice units have access to frostbite currently. So a drastic portion of the roster isn't going to actually do anything to her, and she's already. I don't know. It's a very weird resist to have to me on an ice unit. I don't know. Then 10% disable's nice. Are you trying to think of a unit that has it? Because I don't think there is. Granted, there's not that many units that have it at all. But
I know there's Curry
Victor.
and I know Victor, but I swear, I'm trying to think of like a unit that has access to frostbite. It's not coming to me. Maybe it's like in the future.
Maybe
that might be a future unit, but I don't remember it. I don't think there's any right now.
And then in terms of attack resists, we have 5 slash, 10 pierce, neutral strike, and 20 missile. So just stopping there, she's neutral or better against all of the forms of traditional physical damage. I say traditional, obviously we have magic missile, magic slash, but that 20% to missile's pretty nice though. She can kind of right now Jaden's a big problem for me personally. I've not been building enough against it, but I'm going to try to potentially use her to counter her or Victra. But she can kind of tag in with Victra to make like a really cool anti-missile comp if we end up hitting a class match that is super gunner centric again, which probably going to happen at some point. So it'd be really cool to still be able to use my mono ice teams and feel good about my chances against those. But -10 to magic is fair. I'm okay with it. I can't have everything, and it makes sense to me that a heavy armor user be weak to magic. So, and it's not like -20 or -30 like some other units have, so it's not horrible. But other notable things, her agility. You guys were totaling yours up. I'm gonna like struggle here looking at this. Is
Her
that
base is 53.
43? 53. Or am I missing the other 10?
Yeah. So like her mastery gives her 5 basically.
Oh, sure, because she has 35 just from her. Whoa, and 5 from the board and 3. Ugh. It's only 43. Oh wait, hold on. Is she that slow?
No.
Oh shit.
It's 53 base.
What am I
Plus
missing?
8 from the board, and then the 10% from her mastery.
Is this a typo
So, like,
then?
her
Because it
total-
says 35 on Calc.
It must be, because I'm looking at it too, and like in the builder, her base is 53.
Is it? Okay, so this has got to be a typo then. I'm like, wait, 35. I did not think she was that slow. Okay, so it's
No, that's like SR like range.
right. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Oh god, I was about to like say good things about her, and now I have to think about it again. Okay, so she does get up to 50. Yeah, so 53 plus 8. Okay, that's more respectable. We're crisis averted.
Whew.
So she's not like blazingly fast, but she can keep up. And again, it makes sense. I'm okay with thematic weaknesses and having heavy armor. I don't expect to be the most agile unit in the world. But moving on to her abilities. For her sub, I'll just mention her sub job. We're not going through all the skills, but Dragoon and Pugilist. More Pierce, and then an alternate damage type, always a fan. But for her new skills on her passive, she gets Inertia Controller. So that is a luck 12% and a Pierce attack 12. Medium. I can see situations where I want to. I wish that Pierce attack was 15 though. Like why are you giving me the 12 instead of the 15? Meanwhile, other units get their 12% luck or agility or whatever on their attached thing. Like come on, like just whatever. Then she gets Electric Actuator, which is pretty cool. So 12 flat defense and 40 defense bend. That's more of what I want to see for my passives. That's almost always going to be on for me. Very niche situations would I have even considered taking that off. Other ones I would consider like Flurry Enhancement and Warrior Spirit, or obviously Inertia Controller is decent as well, depending on kind of what kind of build I'm going for. Her unique counter is not terribly unique, just another type of Pierce attack. It looks like I don't really see anything significant there. It does have piercing, so it hits 2 units, which we learned a couple weeks ago that I was an idiot and thought the Dragon's Blade also did. But it does not. So I guess that's at least something interesting with it. And it's a 30% to activate, yes. But
and bonds.
I don't know, what's that?
And bonds chance.
Yeah, no.
Every time I see 30,
it's not 70.
bonds.
It is not 70%. What are you talking about? If it was Aeon Bond, it'd be 70%. No, sorry. So moving on to her main job ability, she yep.
It's preemptive, it looks like.
Preemptive. Oh, that's what that new symbol means. Oh shit. Okay,
Yes,
so
that's the new symbol I was talking about.
So World
Yellow-
Vision's
it's yellow,
Calc has some
right?
new symbols that I was not aware. Yeah, it's like an undo symbol almost.
Yeah.
That means preemptive. So that's cool. Okay, so it does damage before getting hit. Okay, so I take it back. That's at least interesting and different, and I believe I would be using that one. Flurry counter just seems weird. Comparatively, granted it does have 50% chance to get that passive on, and a lot of times I will for the accuracy, but her first ability, Brandish, it's a 165 mod, 100% chance to hit from range 2, lots of uses, low AP. Good bread and butter skill to have. Then she gets Frost Arts, which is an upgraded skill, or she upgrade. Wait, hold on. So when you use it, you upgrade the skill Dragon Dive. That's right. Okay. We'll get to that in a moment. But increased defense by 15 and attack by 40%. Just another great buff, stacking with her passive. That's just 27 defense right there. And if you look at her stats, she has 4 defense between her boards. You got 2 from your statues. She stacks defense pretty easily, which is pretty nice. I love my bruiser units, especially without trying too hard in the builds. That lets me put something like Spirit on her to kind of balance her out a little bit if I really need to, or I can just lean into that physical resistance and defense spin. Or defense.
Especially on ice. We don't really see many bruiser ice units besides like Agrius, maybe Gilgamesh.
At least without forcing it, right? Like naturally.
Yeah.
I guess Barrett,
Yeah.
but he's a hyper carry, let's be honest. No, no, not really. All right, so then we get Burst Piercer, which upgrades to Equalizer. This is probably my like this, there are certain characters who, without certain skills, I would not be nearly as interested in, and this one definitely makes me excited. Dispels all buffs, dispels haste, dispels courage, and this is all before the hit, and then has a 200 damage mod from a range of 3. Range height 1 is a weakness, and being only linear is a weakness. However, just all of that in one ability is just really, really nuts. It's going to affect almost anybody it hits. Most units in the game these days will have either some kind of buff, haste, or courage that they've used in their first bit of turn cycle before you get like on top of them with a melee unit. She's going to have some impactfulness there once she gets to use that. Though, again, range height 1 can potentially be an issue, especially in a line. It's similar to Drain Force, except it has a range height. So I could see that being a weakness, but it's still one of my favorite skills in her kit. Aerial Ascension is a 185 mod, range 3 AoE of in a cross. That respectable damage, 185. I think I already said that, though. Decreased agility by... What's that?
Fast jump, too.
Yeah, 360 on the cast time, which actually, granted, that's another good note, to be fair, is that she has half of her kit is instant and half of it is, or half her attacks, rather, are cast times. One cast time being 360, one 280, which I guess her TMR could help with, but sometimes we don't mind it being slower. Yeah, so decrease agility by 20% on targets. Kind of high AP for that. I don't know if I'm always using that ability, but it is an AoE, so it's useful and high damage. But going on to the Dragon Dive, so at base it is a range of 4, only height of 1 again. Decrease single target resistance by 30 with a 185 damage mod. That's respectable as is. But the upgrade from Frost Arts gives it a chance to Frostbite. So that is easily one of my favorite things to do now with ice teams, is just find a way to inflict Frostbite. I've been loving using Curry because of it, especially in guild battles. It really messes with the opponents. But like in manual PvP, that can be so crippling if you get to hit whoever used Bells and you just Frostbite him afterwards. Like, oof. Because Bells itself, the activation doesn't give a ton of AP, so they really have to get a turn cycle or 2 of it. And if you Frostbite before that, I mean, get screwed.
Not to mention shutting down crystal gains.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, interestingly, her Job 25 skill is not an attack, but a buff. And what a buff it is Pierce Attack 40 and Defense Pen 30. So, for those of you keeping track at home, that is a defense penetration of 70 between that and her passive. That's pretty ludicrous. And then we go into her, or a little later we'll go into her spear that gives pierce resist, and she's just like shredding through anything that tries to resist her. But yeah, hello.
You got a cat.
I was expecting that. Yeah, so anyway, I really like a lot of the tools she has in her main kit. Almost every skill, I think, pretty much feels like it has its place and has its use. They're versatile. You get the guaranteed hit, the AoEs, the high damage, the spells. So pretty exciting. Her sub job is maybe less so. It's cool to have the disable, but it's a range of 1 on a pierce unit. Why isn't it 2? I don't know. It's weird. You can auto attack from 2 spaces away, but you can't use that. It's thematically strange to me. But she does get a chain ability.
It's like a hill bash.
Yeah, right. It's like, Rapid Piercer, though, it's a 2-hit, which is nice to have. Also, only range of 2, though. Kind of an underwhelming sub job, in my opinion. I would definitely look more into using either Dragoon for the level 1 jump nonsense, along with Dragon Standard. And then Dragon Dive's not bad either, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I would just use her own Dragoon Dive over Dragon Dive if I have the... Actually, Dragon Dive costs more AP, so like why? Just give her... Why doesn't she have... Horizontal is another option, right? You could have had horizontal. Or vertical. You could have had some height because she doesn't have any height on her abilities, so... God damn it.
I was just waiting for you to make the distinction, because you've been saying Dragoon Dive as Dragon Dive this whole time.
Did I say Dragon Dive, really?
Yeah, you've been saying Dragon Dive, so I was just waiting, because I knew it was coming.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I thought... Okay, Wow, I read the 2 O's too. I was like, it's Dragoon Dive. It's like Dragon Dive, but with an extra O. But that's okay. Fuck. All right.
Sorry.
Well, anyway, No,
Should've
you're
just not said anything.
no, you're good. I'm like fumbling over myself, like trying to get through this quickly. But pugilist, though, I am a big fan of this sub job just because I do like breathing technique. And iron body stance can sometimes be clutch depending on the matchup. And then also having shifting strike is just like a way to close distance. Like those three skills together really have done a lot of work on Oron in specific for me. So seeing that here is exciting. And split damage types is also something I'm a big fan of. So I could see myself probably using Dragoon most of the time because I do love Dragon Standard, and having the level 1 jump is cheeky and hilarious. I love doing it. But yeah, different applications, different content, different team comps. So Limit Burst, though, she gets another 40 defense pen, so she can just ignore your defense completely if you... Oh no, because it's a buff, it doesn't stack, so it only go up to 80. But 200 damage mod and a decreased pierce resist of 38 in this gigantic 3x3 space from a range of 3 with a decent range height actually on that one. So that's at least a step in the right direction from her ranges. But sorry. Trying to catch up here. Yeah, she's got a lot of tools. Really cool. I think she fills a gap in potential ice comps because it always felt really weird to me to use Victora with, especially given Victor's EX now, with like Mask of Deceit, and kind of feeling that the party ability for the Pierce attack is wasted on the other members of the party, because you really have to go out of your way to find Pierce damage in ice units. And honestly, I can't think of too many outside of like Surges that actually have the ability to make use of Pierce damage. I guess, let me look through. Nasha has like Dragoon sub, but like, no, that's not really relevant here. Lastwell can, but I haven't been a huge fan of Lastwell recently. So it's just, I struggled to find a nice cohesive set of vision cards to also include Mask of Deceit. But if I'm using like a Victora team with Aranea, and then I have a third unit as support, whether it's Fryevia, Barret from range, Solir to like mess with their defenses, so they have to think about magic damage, or Gilgamesh. I think there's some teams that she can really fit into now. And like you were saying, she's a really bulky ice unit, so can also take advantage of that. She's not like, oh my god, have to pull her, she's broken, gonna completely change the game for ice teams, but I like the niches that she can potentially fill, and I'm pretty excited about it.
I just have one quick comment before moving on. It's really cool. Like the name of her LB is Highwind, and that's like an Easter egg / homage to like some of the Sid characters. Like there's a Sid character in every Final Fantasy, right? Or that's the trend at least. And some of the titles, his last name is Highwind, and like it's he also, it's like his one of his like ultimate like limit breaks or something like that. It's called Highwind. So it's really cool, in my opinion, like homage to the Sids out there, you know.
Yeah. Locke, anything?
Like I looked at it and I thought, like, yeah, I thought she was a really interesting character. I just trying to say Visio, so
Oh, for
that's
sure,
why,
yeah.
you know.
Like that's
But
me with Noctis. Like Noctis is so sick, and Prompt is so, like, they're all really interesting and cool in their own rights, and it's not enough Visio to go around. Wait, what are you looking at, Daniel?
I just Googled Aranea just in case, and apparently her last name is Highwind.
Yeah.
So it's like, is there like,
There might be.
relation to
I
Sid?
honestly have not played through.
I haven't either.
me neither.
So I know who the Sid character is in Final Fantasy 15, and I think he's fairly early on in the game. But I don't know if there's a relation between him and Aranea. Now, granted, she is what's the name of her job? It's like some Admiral, Airborne Division Commodore. So like that's already giving you that like airship vibe that Sid is normally associated with. So there probably is some lore there that we're just woefully unaware of because we haven't played through the entirety of FF15. But
that's not the only lore reference I want to make this episode, by the way.
Oh, do you have more for her or just for Minwu?
For Minwu.
Okay. So I guess I'll move on to her weapon real quick and then come back if everyone has other thoughts.
I just wanted to say that I actually really like her design. I would actually pull it and not level it up because I'm an Visio. If I had like an extra 10k or something, I would try just to like keep her as my home unit or something. I think she looks really nice. Like I like this aesthetic.
She has some unique animations too. Like every once in a while, I'm on the like home screen. I'm like, oh, let's see what they'll do. And she has like a lot of the female animations are very recycled throughout the game, even for limited time units. But she has a couple unique ones that are interesting. Like one, she like badass walks up to you and then does like the whole like hey bend over things. Like all right, whatever. But her walk is more badass than other characters maybe. But yeah, man, I got pretty lucky on these units. Not gonna lie. I didn't even think about the fact that the 10 tickets that we got. So we got the 10 shot for free, and there's like the 300 paid 10 shot. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll try for Noctis since I have these. I completely forgot I could use them for Arnea. And I got Noctis on the second one. So that was like, yeah. So I really want to level him because I have him, but I knew I had to at least wait for Arnea. And I got pretty lucky with her this morning as well. So I think it was 6 total pulls, including like the free ones here and there. So I was actually being a good boy and saving my Visior for once. But now I can go get the Vision card and kind of work on Noctis a little bit. And yeah, I might at least get the TMRs from Noctis and Prompto if I can. But
I missed out on her so far.
So far, oh boy, that's all. Swipe no.
Like, literally ice. Ice is like literally like the only element that I don't have like a big like mastery of. It's only like crazy. 25, whereas everything else is like 27 or higher.
I hit 29 today for ice, but I think I'll hit 30 by the time I'm finished with her and a couple other units. Then it will be my highest. It's tied with light right now. But anyway, her weapon is one of those ones that splits the attack bonus and the pierce resist, which I like. I think if someone asked me if I could take some of the older things like a Nagnarok and take off 5 of its slash attack and tack on some slash res, I would probably take that deal in most cases. However, this is an ice unit who uses a spear. And I don't know if you can convince me not to use a weapon with a 45 mod overall between ice and pierce damage. So while this does exist, I don't think this is necessarily a weapon for her. This may be a weapon for other pierce units in other elements. So well, I guess it's not Earth because Oberon has that nutty spear too. So it's like, it sucks that it doesn't feel amazing on her. But hey, what are you going to do? I don't know.
You heard that, everyone. Go out there and do the maths. Is a 45 mod not as good as a 10% pierce res on all these units that have, stacked pierce resistance?
Oh yeah, all of the stacked pierce resist. Oh, all of it. Is there actually was that a joke that
well, I am inviting people to prove you wrong, but yeah, I have a hunch that it's the frost spear is going to be better.
Well, plus, I mean, if you look at the where is it? Spear going on to Ice Lance. The Assault Ice Lance has 144 attack. This thing has 168. That's 24. I don't know if that 24, like there's always an argument that if there's a large enough discrepancy in attack or magic values, the multipliers start to not matter as much, especially with the X jobs and how percentages are starting to work. But I don't think that's a significant enough difference. Now, if for some reason you need accuracy on a unit with a 100% hit skill, you can't get in range or whatever else, the 21 accuracy maybe is worth having an aim one kind of in the pocket. Don't build the crit one, it's garbage. Yeah. I will probably build an assault, and that will be all I'll have. But do you guys have any other thoughts on this item?
I wish it was 20, I wish it was 20 pierce resist. I would see more of a use for it then,
Like no attack up, like just the pierce resist pack 20.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that would be more useful. But what we got? And no further thoughts. I think you covered everything.
It looks like a swordfish with a swordfish's spine.
Yes, it does.
So weird, but kind of cool.
Anyway, so that's my RNA tirade. I think he's a really cool character. Like you're saying, Locke. I wish I could build everything, man. Like the Noctis is so sick. I'm just so sick. But we all got to pick, right? All right, Daniel, take us into Minwoo. So let's get off this Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, so I gotta go as fast as possible because it's bedtime soon. But I just want to mention real fast: Titans 3-star. It gets paralyzed res 25. Woo! Sometimes that can be useful. Do not overlook how powerful Titans 3-star can be for not just Earth Pierce units, but just Earth units in general. especially if you're going up against lightning teams because of the lightning killer that it's always had. It gets the earth attack that we see from 3-star espers. It's got the 22 accuracy, so this is like, I think it's the 4th esper that has high accuracy. It might be the 5th one. I've lost track between like Odin and this one, like Typhon and two-headed dragon. I feel like there's another magic. Oh yeah, Ramu. Yeah, so this is the 5th one. But yeah, so high accuracy, and you can choose between like the pierce attack 15 and the lightning killer. So you don't necessarily have to use it on an earth pierce unit like Eileen or Oberon or whatever. But yeah, I think that the upgrades to Titan are great. Like, you don't necessarily just have to always keep it on Spirit or something. But I mean, obviously the increased Spirit is nice, just like kind of how Golem has the increased defense, and I think Death Machine. But yeah, that's what I have to say about Titan. You guys have anything real quick?
No, basically same thing. I appreciate that this can now be not thought of as like the next Pierce Esper to me, or the main one.
Yeah.
It's just, it can be just an Earth Esper for sure.
All right, so on to Minwoo. First complaint I have is I don't really like her TMR, but other than that, she's awesome. Her mastery ability, she gets the whole fire party element thing, and she gets 20% magic for herself. Really cool. I'm not even going to mention like the TMR, other than the fact that it gets a nice HP bonus. Onto her stats. Her resistances suck. She has -5% on slash, pierce, and striking, -10 on missile, and she gets 10 plus 10 resist to magic. So
should have been 20.
Something, yeah. So she has terrible resistances. I feel like they're trying to make her out to be like this fragile character. I think that's kind of a disservice to her. But her toolkit is kind of makes up for how fragile she is, in my opinion. Her status resistances aren't that great either. 50% to poison and sleep, with the 10% to frostbite. Actually just the 10% on frostbite is kind of nice, because we've only seen so far 25% base chance on frostbite, so that's immediately down to 15, which is, you know, like almost half of it. So yeah, fragile. Let's see, I didn't check what her base agility was. Probably pretty low. Yeah, 54. So she has similar base agility to like RNA. She just doesn't get as much like agility buffs. So RNA is like mastery of like plus 10%. She would have the same agility.
Real quick, I call myself out here.
Yeah.
I completely missed the job stats was separate from level stats. So when I was looking at the agility total earlier for RNA, I just completely missed that whole bottom block.
I was wondering. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's 35 plus the rest. I'm like, where's the rest of it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Definitely. We're gonna see. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
I think another complaint I have about her is not just about. It's about like Gumi's decision on how to build her. I think it's a waste that they gave her the cleric sub job. And not just that the cleric sub job is bad, but there's a lot of overlap between that and her devout main job. But we'll get into that later. So really awesome passive on her main job, Devout Intuition, gives her defense and spirit 15, and unfortunately, in exchange for that, she loses out on magic attack. But because she's enough of a support character, like, I feel like that's worth the cost. Between that and being able to stack another 15 from her spirit up because of her cleric job, like, it'd be nice to be able to stack spirit if you need it, but most often I'm guessing you're going to use Devout Intuition and Speedcast, just because of how many, like, she's a support caster, and being able to get off those heals or the quickens or haste or whatever. Speedcast is basically like one of the best passives for a caster. First overlap we see with Cleric in her main job is on her reaction. Counter Cure and Auto Cure are literally the same skill. I do not see any difference, and I feel like that's a shame. But like, I would probably be using those. Like, Yuna really brought to the forefront how powerful like an auto cure reaction can be. Unfortunately, Aeon is way better than auto cure, but we still see like other units still, like Mashri and I don't know, like I don't think Glacial has. Anyways, so yeah, auto cure is really nice, but it just sucks that like she loses a reaction basically because of the overlap. She has a ton of cool main job abilities. She starts out with Cure. Again, the overlap with Cleric there. Like Clerics also just get Cure. Onto her 2 upgrades. She goes from Teachings of a Flame to Rites of the Flame, which is a huge upgrade because of the fire attack 45 for 3 turns to an ally. Just insane. Like being able to increase not just the debuff resistance in the fire attack, but also like decreasing the cast time by 400 for herself. That's like, you should like always be using this ability like in any matchup. But the fact that she has so many other things that you can use, it's kind of like you have to decide in the moment, like what dynamic you want to go with. Do you want to decrease your cast time, or do you want to go with some of these other buffs? Teachings of Self-Preservation, you get the buff like in cross AoE, defense and spirit by 20, and increasing her own healing power by 30 for 3 turns. That's a really great support skill. Law of Invigoration, their second upgrade goes to Greater Law of Invigoration. This is basically an upgraded Curata, like a super like souped up Curata. Basically, you're healing them for the same amount a Curata does, up to 210, but you're also increasing attack and magic by 40 and agility by 25. And the range is range 5. It's the range of a jamming thrust and
Height
a greater
3.
range height. Yeah, height 3. So you
What?
can just be like in the back, just like throwing like support skills, like AoE or this skill. And the fact that it's a heal on top of like a steroid is just a top tier like fire. You are healer / support, and it's kind of what I've been like. If there are 2 things that I've been psyched about for this game, it's like more strike stuff, like a strike 35 VC, and like fire you are healers. After Glaciella Regalia, who suffers from the same thing that Halloween Little Leela does, where like she attacks when she should support and she supports maybe when she should attack. Glaciella suffers from that, but Minwu, I doubt she will, just because of all the things at her disposal. Dream Inducer, it's kind of nice to have that in her kit, like 25% chance to inflict sleep in a cross AoE. It's nice, but it can be reflectable. But the 220 mod is like, she has an attack skill. That's great. And last but not least, Ultima is her job 25 skill. Spirit Pen 40, Magic Resist Pen 40, 260 mod, huge range. It's a jamming thrust range. This is the Easter egg like homage thing that I was gonna reference, that I was referencing earlier. So Minwu in Final Fantasy II like is a dude, but he's like one of, if not the only character that can learn Ultima in like the Soul of Rebirth, like not expansion or sequel or whatever, but the upgraded version of the game. So the fact that they gave Minwu, the girl, like the Ultima skill, I think is a really cool homage to like the past Final Fantasy titles, or the one that features Minwu. Like I said, I got to hurry up, so I'm going through. Main sub job, she gets another buff, Law of Mitigation, increases AoE resistance and slash resistance by 20 for herself for 3 turns, and she gets Kira. Hooray! Just regular Kira. Cleric, we're familiar with Cleric stuff. Time Mage, we're familiar with Time Mage stuff. Time Mage, she gets Haste and Quicken, and as well as obviously Transposition. I don't think we've seen any Time Mage without Transposition, but Quicken and Haste is really important. So yes, so many support skills, and the fact that she has a couple attack skills as well just kind of makes her indispensable on a fire team. So yeah, I really like her. Plus, the fact that she's like, her name is Minwu, it's like respect to the past title. I just think it's really cool.
All right, so we've lost Daniel, but I have a bunch of thoughts about this character. Locke, do you have anything you want to go over first?
No, you can go ahead first because I don't know her too well, so I will wait.
So we did Daniel did mention that she does have high damage mods on her Dream Inducer and Ultima. It is somewhat balanced by her passive. It's like very clearly she has it's a 220 mod, but really it's 200, so it's kind of like a normal skill. But I think giving a support caster a status-based 200 damage mod AoE skill that's on element is just very, very good to just be able to throw out. Not especially since she doesn't have an LB, and not to mention the Ultima at 260. It's like a mini flare. It still costs 40 AP, which is a lot, but I don't think she's going to struggle with AP ever. Granted, with how many TP skills she has access to.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that?
No, I said yes. I agree.
But and that goes down to 240. Like woohoo! She gets 40 Spirit Pen and 40 Magic Resist Pen before it hits, so it really doesn't matter that she has that one passive. Something else is, while he's talking, I was doing the math. Her activation time between Speedcast and this Rites of the Flame gets up to, what is this, 650? So Quicken is a 280 cast time, so she can 2-tick a Quicken just like Shell. As a fire unit, that very, very interesting possibilities with her. I'm starting to see like a very weird supporty mage team of like Nasha, Mish, and Minwu coming together. Or not Nasha, sorry. Naya, Mish, and Minwu. Just like really annoying buffs because Minwu's basically a tank. Like her resistances are.
Who's gonna kill in that team? You need somebody to do some damage.
Mish.
Right? I mean, I guess Mish. I thought he's more of a status inflictor.
No, I murder people with Mish.
Oh, okay.
And that's the other thing too. She has Quicken, so you get to do really dumb Mish things with Abyssal Mire because Abyssal Mire cuts their CT. I forget if it's by 25 or 50. I really actually embarrassed. I don't know this by heart because I feel like I should. I'm like the Mish guy, but yeah, Abyssal Mire cuts their CT by 50%. So if you quicken a Abyssal Mire, the most they can have is 25. So, like, there's so many combinations here of things that you can do that are really nutty because she also can give agility to a unit. So you can just sit there and like buff up a Mish and like lock somebody down with her quickens and his Abyssal Mires because his Abyssal Mires are instant. So if you have it on if they have the same agility, he gets to cast, it resolves, and then the quicken resolves on top of it and he goes again. Not to mention if she goes because the Rites of the Flame is a activation time on self, but the fire attack to somebody else, you can give 45 fire attack to Mish and make his Firaga, which is also instant cast on Mish, an extra 45 mod. That is absolutely bonkers. And I think this might be the first selection quest I actually finish. I have not done any of them. But there's so many ideas I have for her, plus some of the lower rarity fire units for mono fire teams. Granted, I need to max out the vision card with the magic, the like Rains card. I don't remember what it's called, but just super interesting character, really solid support in basically all directions. And then we're a live PvP podcast here, but if you ever need her for PvE stuff, she gets Esunaga from Cleric, which is probably one of the best things the Cleric can offer. So that's definitely nothing to forget on top of the light and dark veils. And I guess he talked about the AoE and slash resist 20 on the sub job, but that's a pretty good combination of buffs, especially to be instant cast, like AoE and slash 20. So if we go through her passive, she has Devout Intuition, which is 15 Spirit and 15 defense. She has the Teaching of Self-Preservation, which is 20 of each. And that's for allies in an AoE distant cast, or target cast. So we've talked before about how if you have buffs you want to apply on a team and they're in like cross buffs, you have to like really try to position if they're all based on yourself. But these ones where you can target further away really make it so you can get these stacked buffs on top of each other in the beginning of a match in PvP. So it's very, very good. But that's 35 of each. And then she gets she can do this Law of Mitigation. Granted, she's probably gonna be on Time Mage, but if she wanted to go on her sub job, it's another 20 AoE and 20% slash on top of that. Like, I think she's deceptively tanky, unless a unit has 100% defense pen or something. Like, I don't know. I think she's sleeper kind of insane.
I don't know if defense. I mean, like most of the new units these days have at least 25 defense pen, if not like 40 or 60, you know? So I
Right.
don't know if defense is really like if a unit has high defense is inherently tanky. I don't know because like yeah, I don't know. I don't like if she had other things as well, like if she had like if she has a mediocre resistances and
Yeah, they're not
high
amazing.
defense, you know, then I would be like, yeah, I can see her more as a tank. But with just defense, you might get the one off guy unit that did not one off an opponent did not have any defense pen,
Hmm.
but I don't know. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely getting hyped mainly because of the utility of her abilities, but I think that having that on the side, it's another one of those situations where they have to not only have it built, which is like you said, pretty common these days, but also if it's on a skill, they have to use that skill specifically on her to get her to kind of like succumb to those penetrations, like whether it's
Mhm.
defense or whatever resist. She's not gonna be resisting anything really, but I feel like there just seems to be a lot of potential, especially the spirit, because if how often do you see Spirit Pen versus Magic Resist Pen? I'm trying to think of like the rough, like if you had to generalize the split, do you see Spirit Pen more often or Magic Resist Pen more often?
I can see Magic resist pen more often, but Jaden is making his waves. So Jaden
That
and
is true.
Elena,
Yeah.
well, and
that
both of them have spirit pen, I believe. So,
that's fair, but she
but
gets up there in that one as
until
well,
then, it was mostly magic resist pen. Yeah.
right? Yeah, she's got. It looks like she has 6 base spirit on top of all of that, so that's just like 41 spirit out of just existing. Put a slap a smart code on that. She's got what 7? No, 60 something percent. Yeah, it's just a very high number. Um, I'll probably get slapped around and I'll have to be like, all right, she's not that good at some point, but her status effect too on her offense skill being sleep was pretty nice because not a lot of people build specifically for sleep resist, and it's also I think one of the fewer, because we've talked about this a lot too, where popular live PvP units tend to for some reason have like stop and disable and charm and all the like really buzzwordy status effects, except for like Prompto, who has like these weird random ones. So I think you can find some people who just aren't expecting to be put to sleep. And because sleep also has this like weird hidden thing where it increases damage dealt to those who are asleep. So it's kind of like a damage buff for your teammates too, who you just like gave 45 fire attack to. So I don't know. I'm gonna mess around with her a bunch, I think, and kind of see where that ends up. I also want to see the animation for Ultima because I've not seen that yet. And I love seeing like the progression. There's videos on YouTube you can see the progression of like animations of Flare and Holy and Ultima and stuff throughout the series. So I'd be curious to see what this game chose for kind of the direction they take Ultima. But yeah. Any thoughts on Minwu?
So, I mean, for some reason, when I started looking at her like a week ago when she was released, I totally missed that she has Time Mage as a sub job for some reason. So I was like, okay, she's a good cleric, she's a good healer, a good support. But I'm like, I want a Time Mage, so I'm not gonna look at her.
Yeah, she got Quicken. She
Well, there
has
you go.
Quicken with 650. Like that's a 2-tick Ultima.
Right.
That's like saying a 2-tick Flare or a 2-tick like Holy or Firaga or something. It
Right. So the way I would look at her now is that I mean, if I'm doing a quicken team or double quicken team, I would want to have like 2 quickeners that are on 2 different speeds, right, or 2 different ticks, and usually that's like Shell plus anyone, like I don't know, Niblu or something. So she can take the place of Shell. So and I think she's worth it. Like I mean, she would cost 30 more, but I think she has enough stuff in her kit to make it worth the cost for 30 because like she has a lot of insane support where Shell is just quicken usually,
right.
like she doesn't really do anything else, right? But yeah, sometimes it's just hard to fit. So she's really interesting, I mean, and I think she'll definitely be worth the cost for a lot of these things. But I made that gamble before with Aerith as well, and I usually can't find the space to fit her into a 540 cost team. So I don't know, like she
What'd
looks
you
interesting,
say?
but
What'd you say about her cost though?
her cost is 80.
Oh, okay, I thought you said 90 for some reason. I'm like, yeah, she's
No,
definitely 80.
Aerith's cost is 90.
Right.
Right. So I had trouble fitting Aerith into 540 cost teams when she's 90 and Shell is 50. And a lot of times I would actually end up using Phoebe who's 40. right? So
Right.
is Minwu? I mean, I think like Aerith, I think I think Aerith is worth the 90 cost because she offers so much stuff, including re-raise. But just trying to fit everybody into a team and also put the VCs that I want and everything is just really hard. So I don't know. I really have to like really think about it to see if I can fit her into some teams that I want to. But I definitely think she's very interesting. And I mean, I wasn't really a fan of Muraga. Like, I think he was the most powerful element unit released until this point. I
Mhm.
think Minwu might actually give him a run for his money now, maybe. But so I'm definitely interested in building her. She would probably be the first one I would actually build out from everyone, from all the element quests that we have. But I still don't know how often I'd be using her when I can use cheaper
Right.
partners for manual.
I guess one thing I would say is Aerith does have the water unit weakness, right? So she's gonna typically be able to be sniped by lightning units. Not that I think Minwoo's gonna particularly survive against a like super buffed up Frederica always, but she at least doesn't have the inherent weakness to water units, or sorry, to lightning units, and also she kind of benefits from Frederica's existence, keeping the water units down, so there's not a lot of units who are going to have advantage on her being a fire element unit. So there's a little bit of value there. How much value that is realistically, I don't actually know, but it's at least a consideration, I think, for her being a choice of Quicken unit. Now, if she
Fair
had
enough.
like full life on her main job though, then we'd be talking for sure, right? but I don't know. I feel like having the Dream Inducer though, that skill intrigues me. Like a 200 damage mod with a 20 AoE, with a range of, was it 4+1? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4+ across that inflicts sleep. I don't know. Now, I guess a little more specific team comp wise, units that you would want to double quicken that are fire. So I could see maybe the new Glaciella. I could see Summer Catone. Are there other major fire? I guess maybe Seymour. Would you do King Mont? Do you think
Yeah,
ever?
and I've seen Kingmont as well as a double click and target. And he can get higher damage once you use this his slash resist skill, like slash resist down skill.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next hit after that can do a lot of damage. And also, I mean, Berserk can just win games on his own. If you land Berserk on somebody, even forgetting the status effect, you do 50% more damage to that unit, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
Well, I guess
yeah,
Winter Mastery too is actually kind of nuts.
yeah, and like with King Mont as well. I mean, with Minwu now, you can apply that fire attack buff, right?
That's what I was getting
So
at.
King
Yeah.
Mont,
So
yeah,
because you have to use, this is the only weakness I would say for on a double quicken teams. You can't turn one double quicken if you want her
yeah.
fast time, because you have to apply this buff first to give yourself the 400 cast time for a bunch of turns and then go into it. One other thing I'm noticing on War of the Visions calc, and I don't know if this is going to be I don't know where the typo is, but the unupgraded version of the skill says the activation time lasts for 4 turns, and the upgraded version is showing for 3 turns. I'm not sure if there's a typo there, but that is a note, I guess, for
Range, yeah.
now. It also is interesting because it was part of the upgrade to the skill, is the activation time going from 300 to 400. So it's interesting that the 300 for 4 turns moved to 400 for 3 turns. um, yeah, just a weird thing. I hope that's not actually the case. I hope it is for 4 turns on herself, but I'll have to test that at some point and try to remember to get back here. But so we did end up going a lot longer on this content than I thought. God dang it. We had some topics to go into, but I'm hoping, because next week I think we're expecting class match, right? We were expecting it
I
2
have
weeks
no
ago.
idea at this point.
We were
So,
expecting it
I
this
don't know.
week since it wasn't the previous week. And now, yeah, we don't really know what to expect. So we may have a week where we finally can get into more of the stuff I was talking about, which is just talking about like quote unquote lifestyle stuff, like what's going on in the game. Maybe some of our thoughts about kind of the direction where the game's heading for live PvP, some team comps we've been messing with, or something we've been seeing. I know we have some shared Visior woes recently about not being able to build everything, and kind of like the overwhelming amount of like normal releases weaved in with collaborations, and it's back to back collaborations like every month now. So there's a lot to talk about from just a sort of a logistic standpoint with the game that I think I'd like to get into at some point. But unfortunately, my beginning of the episode promises once again have to be pushed to the following episode because we're already approaching the 2-hour mark here. But yeah, Locke, any last thoughts before we wrap up for today?
I mean, like, so we didn't really talk about like what we were going to talk about, like the discussion, but I think just really quickly, just to kind of have a plan because like everything is getting really expensive, and I mean, just between the three of us and looking at Final Fantasy 15, we all want to build like everything, but we have to make choices now, right?
Yep.
So I think that's just like just have a plan, figure out what you want, and like I mean, you kind of already know what's coming, except for surprises. You know what's coming because you have some foresight from looking at JP. So just kind of make a plan, and I think that will save you from like FOMOing these units and really costing you a lot. So that's my only advice because I think going forward we really want like the shiniest toy to play around. We like this game. We want to do something. We want to look at like some new mechanic, right?
Right.
But you can't have everything, right? So yeah,
not
just make a plan.
reasonably, right? Like you can sit there and keep swiping your card or doing whatever. But
Right.
there's only so much you can realistically do while still being either responsible or you just have this ridiculous disposable income that I'm very jealous of. But
Exactly.
yeah,
That's it from me. Yeah.
if you stuck around this long, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I hope the conversation was interesting, and I'm sorry if we disappointed by not getting into non-news things. I kind of underestimated how interesting all of these units were. So like we went way longer on Minwu than I expected, but she is a really, really cool unit. But until next time, I've been Zach Burrell.
Good luck.
And we'll see you next time.